Hi everyone, I'm Lilith. Thank you for joining me and welcome to the Spell Shop. So today I'm just going to be introducing myself, I'm going to be introducing the channel, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about why I decided to start a YouTube channel during a time of intense political divide. I am first and foremost an activist. I am also an anthropologist and a lifelong lover of literature. Reading is my first love, and it is arguably the love of my life. I have also been active in activist circles and social justice circles since I was about 14 years old. My first protest was when there was the Parkland shooting. We had the national walkout to protest gun violence. I participated in that at my high school. I also used to facilitate the National Day of Silence through GLSEN back in high school, long, long, long time ago. I am a disabled lesbian. I am the great grandchild and the grandchild of immigrants. I was raised speaking Spanish at an immersion school where all of my teachers were from South and Latin American countries. I also currently have a bachelor's degree in anthropology and in English, and I am currently in grad school for anthropology where I am researching issues surrounding migration, immigration, refugees, and the American legal system in connection with detainment facilities. So I decided to start this channel for a couple of reasons. First is just that I am tired. I am so tired of seeing hatred and misinformation every single moment of my waking days. I am tired of sitting back and watching as my rights and the rights of people I love are being taken away under the guise of patriotism and of national protection. Following that, I truly and fundamentally believe that in the face of political contestation, education is one of the best forms of protest and one of the best forms of resistance. When books are being banned, when history is being rewritten to completely erase the suffering of minority populations, when slavery is rewritten to be an issue of states' rights, when the Trail of Tears is completely erased, when the criminalization of queer people of the past is not discussed, and when world genocide is completely overlooked. I believe that the best thing that we can do is to read, learn, and to remember, because if we don't, then no one else will. Given that, I believe that it is my job and my duty as an activist, as an educator, to promote diverse authors and literature that shows diverse characters. If they want to ban discussions of trans people's existence in public schools, fine. I am going to show trans people living their lives, trans people as protagonists, trans people being happy. I will give you queer and Black and Indigenous and Latino authors, Latino stories, fiction and nonfiction. I have the privilege of being white. I have the privilege of my disabilities being, for the most part, invisible. I have the privilege of a college education. I want to use that privilege to help lift up other people where I can and support their voices and stories. It is not my job to speak for other people, but it is my job to help them. And if at the very least that's what I can do, then that's what I'm going to do. I hope that you'll join me in this journey. I hope that you will learn something. I hope that you can use what I teach you and what I help to promote as forms of resistance. Now, this channel is going to focus on books. Specifically, it's going to focus on books in relationship to activism, education, and awareness. But I want to talk about that word awareness for a second. Awareness is not enough in and of itself. It is not enough to just know something. It is not enough to just know something when you see it. While the nation is divided the way it is, while queer rights and women's rights and the rights of all minority peoples are being taken away day after day, it is not enough to just sit back and be aware. It is not enough to just sit and watch. That is why I am going to challenge myself with these videos, as well as challenge you, my listeners, watchers, readers, to use what I say, use the books I promote to facilitate change. I encourage you to actually do something with what I share. I encourage you to challenge me. I encourage you to call me out if I say something that is wrong. I am not above that. I want to be told when I'm wrong because I am here learning just as much as anyone else. I may be an educator, but an educator is a lifelong learner. That is primarily who we are. That being said, I think it's time to talk about a couple of books. First one is Who's Afraid of Gender by Judith Butler. This is a piece I originally read last year when I was doing research for my thesis on the Tennessee drag ban. The book covers the history of fear of gender ideology, why gender is something that is so heavily policed in various countries, the roles of religion in it, and the fear, specifically in American contemporary society, surrounding gender. I'm just going to read a quick little excerpt from it. It's one that I found poignant at the time, and it's one that I find to be incredibly relevant now. Butler says, the anti-gender position is not against freedom, but seeks to reestablish it and expand its claims only within its religious framework, one preferably backed by the state. I wrote in the margins that the anti-gender ideology position wants to redefine the form of right freedom, or the correct form of freedom. It's a really good book. It's a really tough read. Butler is admittedly a bit dense. I have read a lot of their work over the past couple of years, but I think it's really, really relevant. If you're at all familiar with their theories of gender performativity, if you're at all familiar with any of their philosophical takes, I think you would really enjoy this book. So next is my personal favorite book of this selection anyway, Still Life with Bones by Alexa Haggerty. So this book, Haggerty discusses genocide, really, from an anthropological perspective. She talks about specifically the genocide in Guatemala and in Argentina. She talks about the way that disappearances are politicized. She talks about the way that bodies are politicized, about the denial of history that occurs when one's body is taken away, about the denial of culture that occurs when one's body disappears. It's a really, really poignant piece. It's the piece that made me decide to start doing research on immigration and migration, specifically in the context of the United States legal system. It is a tough read. It made me cry, and I think it's one of the best books I've ever read. I highly suggest that you give it a look. Next one, it's a classic that I had not read actually until last week, 1984 by Orwell. Yes, admittedly, there is some sexism and some racism that is present in this book. It is reflective of the time and also of the society that Orwell created. I'm not defending that. I am just really explaining why it is present in this book. Aside from that, it is an incredibly relevant piece. I saw not a critique, but a commentary on it, that it was a long form essay in the format of a novel, which is fairly accurate, I would say, especially given the anti-establishment novella that takes place right in the middle. It's a really good book about the way that authoritarianism hides itself under the guise of nationalism and patriotism. And it is both, I think, a prophecy that is slowly coming to pass, as well as a warning of what is to come. Lastly, a lot of people might have seen this one on social media. I actually found this book through Blue Sky, and that is On Tyranny by Timothy Snyder. This book, it's really short. It's around 100 pages. I think it's $7 right now on sale. It discusses 20 lessons from the 20th century experiences of tyranny. It talks a lot about the Nazi regime and the techniques that they used, as well as other authoritarian governments from the time. Beyond the history, it also talks about the ways in which to resist tyranny. It does very, very not subtly discuss the current presidential administration um, and the ways in which it is similar to authoritarian regimes of the past. So I'm just going to read a quick little excerpt from the first chapter. It is step one in resisting tyranny. First things first, do not obey in advance. Most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want, then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. Once again, On Tyranny by Timothy Snyder. Essential reading for times like this. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me in the spell shop. I hope to see you again. If you want to hear more from me, you know the usual spiel. Go ahead and click on the little buttons in the bottom corner. Feel free to check out my Instagram, my Blue Sky account, as well as my personal blog. Thank you very much. And remember that education is the best form of defense against fascism. Have a good day.